Ladies and gentlemen, you welcome to this news hour on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. It's another dark day on the Republic of Cameroon, the northwest and southwest regions of the country, and condemnations are streaming in, raining from across the globe over the killing of a 3-year-old school child in the southwest regional chief town, Boya. The child was shot dead by an element of the National Armed Forces. We begin this newscast in the southwest regional chief town, Boya, where a child of 3 years old was shot dead today by an element of the National Armed Forces in the Moliko neighborhood. And the child was shot as the soldiers were attempting to control the vehicle in which that child was found. And we have details with our correspondent in the southwest region, Derry Chato.
This is her school bag, stained by her own blood. The bullet came from here and straight into her head, and she died. Witnesses say this gendarme officer, now lying helpless, was the one who opened fire on the 5-year-old girl by name Enodiane Carolis, a class 1 pupil schooling here, the Catholic primary school in Boya.
They don't stand him and the parents were picking the school. They stop him in the school. They follow him after the phone of Cadexa. They must stop. He's an after the phone of the one that is going to school. They're going to get around it. As he talk, he wants to give motor and a man shoot up in your gun. Shoot up your gun for 500 pounds.
The officer stopped the woman driving the car, he says. At the central market, the woman did not stop. The officers followed her right here at the co-cathedral. The woman stopped her car and told them that she was going to drop her children in school. And as she was driving off, these officers shot the car from behind, and the bullet hit Enodiane Carolis in the head, and she died. From that morning hours, everything about Boya changed.
This is Boya today, this Thursday. The road is barricaded. You could see the angry population blocking the road and chanting. And then just over here, this the security forces, and on board is the perpetrator of that act that took place today at the central market. It is believed that he has also been lynched, but we are yet to have confirmation. And as of now, the corpse has been taken to the governor's office for action. The population here say they want the government to stop all this.
The population administered jungle justice on the said gendarme officer. His state has not been made public. The road was barricaded as thousands marched around the town of Boya with the corpse of the 5-year-old Enodiane Carolis.
This is the corpse of the child that was killed this morning. The population, made up of the youth, are parading the street. They are calling the head of state. They are calling on the authorities. They are calling on the traditional rulers to put an end to this. They said this young child was going to school ignorantly, respecting the parents and respecting the government for effective school resumption. But little did she know that she will get up this morning just for school, and she will not finally arrive at her institution. So the population is chanting, calling on the authorities to come to the aid of the Boya population.
Gunshots were also heard. But that did not stop the angry population, most of them youth, to press on. And the first stop point was at the Southwest Governor's office, where Southwest Governor Benato Kaliabilai promised them that justice will be made on the perpetrators.
I want to assure you that those who did it, some are already under arrest. Because this child would have been your child, my child, an innocent child. He was going to school. I'm fighting here for children to go to school. But how is it that a child on his way to school is killed? So it is a shock.
Yes.
Rest assured that I, Governor, you you know me. You know that I'm not a corny man. Those who did it, no matter they are great, they will pay.
Yes, justice.
They will pay. But I want us to carry the corpse of our innocent child to the mortuary.
But they will reject the governor's proposal that the corpse be deposited at the mortuary. Instead, the corpse was taken down to the Independence Square, where a woman removed her dress and swore on the lifeless body of Enodiane Carolise that those involved or encouraging such acts will pay in blood. The divisional officer for Boya, Abba Abdurrahman, was surrounded to do one thing for the angry population, order for the release for those who were earlier arrested and kept here, and that was done. The corpse was taken down towards Moleko as the divisional officer for Boya and the regional hospital followed, begging for the corpse to be deposited at the mortuary.
In them from Boya, and as you heard in that report, the soldier who fired, the gendarme officer who fired that bullet was subjected to jungle justice by an angry mob, and he died on the spot. And of course, civil society leaders, human rights defenders have said that the killing of the schoolgirl in Boya reinforces the feeling and the idea that the army in the Anglophone regions is an army of occupation. They think the killing interprets the failure of the government to protect civilians. For me, Armstrong Sander.
The shooting to death of 3-year-old Diale Caroline by a security officer in Boya, southwest region of Cameroon, is a microcosm of a sad reality across the country, according to human rights lawyer Barrister Agbo Bala.
So for that child to be killed is a gross violation, and it also reflects the nature of impunity and accountability that we have in this country, and it only emboldens those who commit such gross violations.
He says responsibilities should be established because the killing of civilians interprets failure on the part of the government.
And when you fail to protect the lives of civilian and their property, means you are failing as a state. So that is a child one too many.
To his co-lawyer and rights defender Barrister Tamfo Richard, the killing of a schoolgirl in the heart of the town of Boya interprets the failure of measures taken by the government of Cameroon to bring back normalcy to the conflict-stricken Anglophone regions of the country.
At Moliko, it's just to tell you that the peace we are all talking about is flimsy. It's not real. People still continue to live in tension, in fear of each other, where you have soldiers who cannot protect. The military option that we put in place to resolve a political problem is not working. We cannot be living with arms all over. You don't know which training they got to shoot at citizens.
Barristers Agbo Balang Kongo and Tamfo Richard Ngarka say that the Boya incident will only worsen an already bad situation in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon.
Boya, which already was like relatively calm, today is having another phase, and we don't know to where it's going to escalate further.
It's not only about killing, it's the way they drive in the street. It is a kind of disregard and disdain and arrogance, the way they speak to the population. There are times when there's an emergency you can understand, but that's what I call military recklessness. There are times when there's no emergency. They have to drive, they have to oppress, they have to suppress the people pointing their guns at innocent civilians. It doesn't help. It builds a culture where people look the military as a force of occupation.
They think that many of such incidents will be recorded with the continuous presence of trigger-ready soldiers in the streets of the southwest and northwest regions.
The Ministry of Defense of the Republic of Cameroon has issued a statement on the killing of the school child in Boya, southwest region of the country. And the statement reads, the Ministry of Defense hereby informs on the morning of Thursday, October 14, 2021 at about 8 a.m. An unfortunate incident led to the death of a little girl in the Bokova neighborhood not far from the Boya Central Market, Fako Division, Southwest region. As a matter of fact, the National Gendarmerie filtering station installed in Bokova stopped the Toyota brand vehicle, picnic model with chassis registration number CH06812. Refusing to comply, the driver continued in his momentum by accelerating to escape towards the Moliko or Mispo Stadium, and where he will be caught by the two gendarmes launched after him. After the usual identification procedures, an inexplicable verbal brawl ensued between the two gendarmes and the driver, who was firmly opposed to the search of his vehicle to the point of initiating a new escape maneuver. In an inappropriate reaction, insulted to the circumstances and clearly disproportionate to the irrelevant behavior of the driver, one of the gendarmes will, in a defiance of the sacrosanct principle of precaution, fire warning shots in order to immobilize the vehicle. In the process, the little Caro Luis Ndiale, a young pupil aged about 5 who was on board the said vehicle, was fatally shot in the head. In a violent fury, the crowd pounced on the gendarme officer who was the author of the shot and lynched him to death. The minister delegate at the presidency in charge of defense deeply regrets this unfortunate incident and extends his sincere condolences to the bereaved family. The investigation immediately opened by the local administrative authorities and defense and security forces will shed more light on and establish responsibilities in this doubtfully fatal incident. And the release is signed by Atomfak Ngemo Cyril, Navy Captain, Head of the Communication Department of the Ministry of Defense. Now to neighboring Limbe, still in the southwest region of the country. An explosion occurred today in the Botalan neighborhood, provoking a huge fire incident that is said to have originated from illegal fuel that was stored in a house in that neighborhood. We have details with our southwest Limbe-based correspondent, Davidson Maimo. Davidson Maimo with that story from Limbe on another incident that occurred today, not directly linked to the crisis going on in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, but a fire incident that exploded, though that was provoked by explosion of fuel, illegal fuel that was stored in a house in Botalan neighborhood in Limbe in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. It occurred today, and our southwest Limbe-based correspondent Davidson Maimo was there, and he simply indicates that the fire was brought under control by rescue soldiers from the National Oil Refinery, Sonora, and those of the Limbe City Council. And of course, the fire or the wild flames consumed almost everything, consumed the house in which the illegal fuel was stored, and this is one of the consequences of the illegal manipulation, transportation, distribution and sale of fuel in that part of the country and across the republic, in the northwest, in the economic capital Douala, and even in the central region and other parts of the country. This illegal business seems to be prospering. Davidson Maimo. We shall be coming back to that report in our subsequent news editions. Time for us to talk about other issues, notably the COVID-19 vaccine that is gradually becoming obligatory, so to speak, in the Republic of Cameroon. In some administrations, it is already obligatory, and in the south region of the country in particular, the governor has imposed the obligatory vaccination of all personnel, and henceforth nobody will have access to the offices of the governor in the south region without a vaccination card properly presented. Innocent as a reports.
Implemented and enforced in public institutions in the East region upon the order of Governor Gregoire Vongo. Workers are allowed into their offices only upon presentation of a COVID-19 vaccination card and a negative test result dating 72 hours.
Tous les agents publics non vaccinés ou disposant d'un test de dépistage négatif de moins de 72 heures, l'accès sera interdit dans les services publics.
Governor Gregoire Vongo matches words with action to be sure the decision is well respected in public institutions. Those who had not been vaccinated were compelled to receive the vaccines before they could regain their offices. According to the governor, the exercise aims at raising the vaccination rate that is still very low in his area of command. The exercise continues in the region.
That's it for the first part of this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Right now, we're going to be talking about the incident that occurred in Buea today with our guest, the human rights lawyer, Barrister Tamfu Richard, who is joining us to talk about this other incident that has come to add to the series of bloodshed killings in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Coming up next, Talking Point. Thank you for staying with us in Talking Points. Barrister Tamfu Richard, member of the Cameroon and Nigerian Bar Associations, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Babila.
Another incident similar to that of the 24th of October 2020 in the Mother Francisca International College in Kumba.
Yes, it's another sad day that we are living today in Cameroon. It's now becoming a routine, a normal activity that we have to keep on crying every day because we are losing either a family member who is in the army or a family member who is, for example, going to school, just as what we have today. It bleeds the heart, it's sad, and it's incomprehensible. We are short of tears now. I think we have had enough bloodshed already in this crisis, and I think that what we are living today, it has passed the bounds, and it's as if we are being invaded by evil, because nothing will characterize or nothing can explain what we are living today. You are tempted to ask yourself, how did we reach there? And when you look critically, it's impossible to understand what is going on in Cameroon now.
The Ministry of Defense in its statement says that the driver refused to stop. The driver of the vehicle in which the little girl was refused to stop, and that is what led to that shooting.
You see, at times there are some communications that will only continue to frustrate numerous Cameroonians. I have first-hand information of people who left the scene. What I know is that there is a taxi driver who was stopped, and maybe he refused to comply with what we know is happening in those roads, whereby officers who are supposed to check you, if you don't have your documents, you are forced to either give them away by bribing away by giving them 500 francs or 1,000 francs, depending on the request of such officers. So maybe this unfortunate driver did not have his papers and decided to take to escape from that control. And unfortunately for him, it shows that the officer, maybe through his arrogance and zeal, decided to open fire and missed his target to the point that he had to hit another vehicle, and this unfortunate child happens to die. So the question is, how did we reach there? Must we behave even if the taxi driver refused to respond to a control? Is that the way? Is that the training that soldiers receive in school? to behave in such circumstances? Could he not record the number plate of the taxi and maybe continue the tracking? So just to tell you that we have decided to not to value human lives anymore in those regions, and it's heartening to believe that we continue to live with this for so long, and it's already taken too much. 5 years living in chaos, living in fear, because nobody is now safe. You don't know what can happen to you at any time, because guns, soldiers everywhere. It's frightening. It's beyond understanding. I think the incident of today is a more incident than to what we have been having already. And I think that it's high time that the authorities that be understand that there is still a possibility of taking another solution to this problem. So to me, what is happening today in those two regions is another clarion call to the head of state, Mr. Paul Biya. We should not be missing the target. He is the only person responsible and nobody else. We saw the Prime Minister on a tour for peace. After turning his back, that is the result of what we are living. So we should stop this sham that we want to make people or satisfy maybe the authorities that be that things are in the normal. Say no, there is no peace in those regions. Boya, which was relatively calm of recent, we are now seeing what we are living. So,
Barrister Agbobala thinks that this incident further gives the impression that the army in the two English-speaking regions is a force of occupation. Is it?
Well, I don't see the army to be a force of occupation. It is true that the army is there to protect citizens, but the increasing number is making, instead of the population taking them as a friend, they instead see it now as an enemy. Because when you leave, you get up in the morning and your house is surrounded by military people, you are frustrated, you are frightened. So what are they doing there? What is the problem? So I think we should rethink the military option that we put in place to resolve this problem. It's not working, and it's not going to work, because every day we'll continue to register inadvertent circumstances or unforeseen circumstances where you have different stories coming up. So I think the military in that region or in those regions are already too many. Before you get to Boya, you have more than 5 controls. What are those controls for? What is the military doing? I think we should rethink this military option and see that things are not working well. And if we are conscious, let's put human dignity. Let's value life. See the innocent soldier who lost his life because the population was angry and they had to exercise their anger. That is a soldier that has gone. That is a little girl whose only crime was to go and seek for knowledge. That is where we are today. So it's regrettable. One even lacks words to express the feeling that he's having. The only thing we can say or we have is our eyes to cry. And for how long shall we continue to cry or condemn or trying to know who was to do what and who was not? I think it's high time already that this thing should stop. And the people who are in charge of the management of this country, they know exactly where the problem is, and until we resolve in putting an end to this, we'll continue to register one incident to the other. And also the population should also come up, because if for every incident the population could rise and make it to stop, it will stop. Yesterday it was Kumba, today is a little girl, and tomorrow we will.
Barrister Tamfu Richard, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure is all mine.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Coming up next, La Presse Dispute live from Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé, and after that, Equinoxe.